Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe a good-looking show is looking for and finding the good. You found good in abundance because you tuned in consciously and conscientiously to Eye on Las Vegas with your humble host, Barry Shore, known as the Ambassador of Joy. Notice I didn't say the Ambassador of Joy. The Ambassador of Joy, and you are going to be filled with joy today because we're talking about the second most interesting thing in the whole world. That's right, money. Okay, I know a lot of you were thinking about the other one, but the second one, money. And you're going to lean in, you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to be transformational. We have America's number one economist here to share with us insight that's just going to rock your world. So before we do and bring on amazing Dr. Mark Skousen, I just want to mention something. I travel the world, and I also do a lot of these podcasts and such and speak to people all over the world. And the moment I mention Las Vegas, people's eyes open up and they feel a little energy, because that's what this town is all about. And everybody in the world has heard about it. So I want to give you a couple data points. So interesting. If you take the entire population of New York City and everything around it, the entire population of Chicago and everything around it, the entire population of Los Angeles and everything around it, the first, second, and third most populous cities in the United States of America, add them all together, it doesn't equal the number of people that come to Las Vegas in a year. 41 million people come to and through Las Vegas in a year because it is a place of energy, of excitement, of experience. Yes, the money flows, the sex flows, and all the other stuff, because it's a place where things are happening. This is still one of the great frontiers where things can be magical. And so without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to a magical being. His name is Dr. Mark Skousen. He is America's number one economist, as noted by the Las Vegas Money Show last year. And please welcome wonderful Dr. Mark Skousen. Mark, please say hello to 501,613 people around the world.
Well, I'm very impressed. And of course, I love Las Vegas, but only because it's the new Las Vegas, because it's more than just sex and gambling now. Now you have great shows, you have wonderful restaurants, you have lots of fun things to do other than gambling and the strip shows and stuff like that. And so that's why it's attracting 41 million people because of that.
And growing, and well said. And I just want to make mention on something that you said and to make people aware of, that this particular city called Las Vegas has now been deemed the entertainment capital of the world. It is. And that's why people come here. The gambling it's something, of course, it's ubiquitous. It's really about entertainment and everything. Family entertainment, other kinds of entertainment. It's really something special. And of course, that entertainment begins with the letter E, as do the other two things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the second one. And the second one has an E in it also. M-O-N-E-Y. Everybody leans in when they hear money in whatever languages around the world. And we have, thank God, 500,000 people around the world listening. And we urge everybody, share this show with 5 people so we can touch 2.5 million. Follow us on Spotify and Apple. And let's just jump right in, Mark, and discuss something that you're going to be here pretty soon. You're going to be here in Las Vegas at the Money Show. The Money Show is the middle of February. And tell us what you're seeing right now, because we are in historic times. If not the most consequential election, certainly in the past 50 years, maybe even in my lifetime, and I'm 76 chronologically, has just occurred. And the American public said, we've had enough of not progressive, because it wasn't, it was the opposite. We've had enough of this bizarre kind of experiment with our lives and our money. Let's get serious, and let's get what we call the ability to be smart about money. Please guide us in the right direction.
You know, I come to Las Vegas 3 or 4 times a year for investment type conferences. I come for the Economist Summit that I do with the Investment Club of America. I come to the Money Show for the Las Vegas Money Show, which is not just in Vegas, but in other cities. We do our Freedom Fest conference there every year in your town. And that has a 3-day investment conference. And there's no question about it that Las Vegas is a great location to discuss money. And I make the comparison all the time. I say, so is Las Vegas Wall Street, or is Wall Street Las Vegas? And of course, there are some major differences in the two because it's not quite gambling. Investing in the stock market is part ownership in a company. So you don't lose your money overnight, which you can do in Las Vegas. In fact, I argue that you can make more money investing in Wall Street than you can investing on the gambling tables of Las Vegas. So it's a great opportunity for people to become educated at the money show. I guess I've been speaking. I guess the money show has been there for like 30 years, and we're at the Paris Resort this time. Correct me on the dates, but I think it's like February 17th, 18th, 19th.
17th, 18th, and 19th, February 2025. And I want to mention also everything you want to know about Dr. Mark Skousen, and you really want to know, it's going to be in the show notes. So just don't even write anything down. Just experience him. He's a professor at Chapman University. He's written one of the great books on money and on Wall Street called Maxims of Wall Street.
I have a copy right here.
It's an important book for people to be aware of because it gives you what we call common sense. And that is probably the most important aspect of utilizing money, common sense and patience. Is that fair to say, Mark?
Yes. And, you started off by talking about, is this a good time to invest? Well, the stock market's at all-time highs and has been hitting all-time highs for the last year. Even under sleepy Joe Biden, the stock market did really well. And it's probably because he was asleep most of the time, because one of the quotes on Wall Street is that the market does best when when the king is away. And there's a lot to be said for that. But I also think that President Trump coming on board, he is pro-business. He does watch the stock market very closely. He doesn't want to do anything that causes the stock market to drop, although he's testing the market with these tariffs, which are basically taxes. And hopefully he's doing it on a negotiating basis rather than a firm believer in protectionism and against globalization and stuff like that. I mean, Las Vegas represents globalization, does it not? People come from all over the world to come to Las Vegas for conferences and for gambling and for shows and entertainment and so forth. So I'm optimistic. I do think there are going to be some black swan events that are going to come. And so one of my talks at the conference is The Lazy Man's Way to Riches is the title of my talk. So I'm going to give 5 investments that you can buy and forget about, and then you can enjoy life and go gambling and go to the entertainment shows, because you have investments that over time are going to increase and beat inflation, because we are entering an era of permanent inflation. This is one of my theses. Do not buy into the idea that Trump is going to end inflation. Inflation is with us, and prices are going up, and you need to get a 10% to 20% return on your money every year in order to stay ahead of the rising cost of living. So there's a reason to come to the money show. There's a lot of great people that are there that, in addition to myself, Ed Yardini is coming. I'm just trying to think.
Okay, I want to focus on you.
There must be at least 30 different speakers on this.
Okay, but Mark, I want to focus on you. I want to focus on you for a moment.
Yes, sir.
Because you've already titillated us, it's a great word for Las Vegas, with 2 things. Number one, 5 insights into stocks or bonds. I'm not sure which they're going to be, probably stocks.
Not bonds, no.
Okay, stocks that people can buy and put away and think about for kids, grandkids, because it's going to be there. Good. And I may even pry one of them out of you just for having fun. But I want to talk about permanent inflation, because I think it's one of the most important aspects of what happens in human lives. Let's be very blunt. If you say to people, most educated people, and you ask them about the rule of 72, you'll get a blank look. They won't even know what you're talking about. So I'm going to articulate it, and you can tell me, Barry, you're right or wrong. The rule of 72, how long it takes in a percentage return for your money to double or go worse and lose value. So as an example, if you gain 6% a year over the course of 12 years, because 12 times 6 is 72, you'll double your money. Now, if inflation is at 6% a year, ongoing basis, you've been wiped out. You lose your value. So that's why it's vital, not just important or interesting. It's vital to maintain the ability to beat inflation, not just keep up with it, as you said. So let's dive a little deeper into, first of all, was I correct on the rule 72? And second of all, let's talk about permanent inflation, because it's a killer.
The rule of 72 is a very easy formula to figure out. Take the years and divide it into 72, and that's how long it takes you to double your money. But you have to remember there's taxes, there's fees, there's the bull and bear markets. And believe me, it's one of the hardest things in the world to do is hold on to your stocks during a bear market. I mean, if you lose half your value, and that has happened like every 10 years in the stock market, that's scary. And especially if you're at the retirement age, where you need to depend on that money. So one of my stocks, I'll tease you with this stock, which is my favorite stock. It is the only stock in the entire stock market, and there's like 3,000 to 5,000 stocks. It is the only stock that pays a monthly dividend and a quarterly dividend, both monthly and quarterly. And the yield currently, even though the stock is at an all-time high, is 7% right now, even after going up 46% last year. So I'm not expecting that kind of return this year, but still something that pays you every month plus every quarter. I mean, if you're income oriented, you want to know about this stock. So I would encourage people to come to the Money Show. This is my teaser to get you to come down to the Paris Resort, February 17th, 18th, and 19th, and hear me give that, because I'm not going to give it to you on the phone.
I was going to say, I was just about to say, okay, and that stock, even though Warren Buffett loves Coca-Cola, it's not Coca-Cola, although it might be.
But whatever. Coca-Cola, although Coca-Cola is a stock that has had a rising dividend policy for 30, 50 years, but it's not a particularly good growth stock like the stock that I'm going to be recommending to you at the Money Show. So, but I will give you a stock that I think people would really like to do. It's not my top pick, but I'll give you one stock that has done really well. It's a dividend aristocrat, which means for 25 years it has been raising its dividend. Now it pays every quarter, and it's yielding a little like 6% right now.
That's per annum. That's 6% per annum.
Per annum, that's correct. And it's a pipeline company. In other words, it's an energy company where oil and gas go through the pipelines. They get a fee. So even if the price of oil drops, it's not really going to hurt this because the fees are coming in. And look, drill, baby, drill. That's one of the things Trump wants to do. Well, that means more oil and gas are going to go through these pipelines, and that means more fees. So the name of that company is Enterprise Products. EPD is the symbol. And it has, it's not a huge winner. It was up 24% last year, 26%. It's slightly
Excuse me. It's funny it's funny to say things like that. Well, it's only up 24, 26%. God willing, you should have in your portfolio, every stock should go up only 24% every year. The rule of 72 means that every 3 years, you're doubling your money. So I want to say, speaking about money, we have sponsors that love our show. We wouldn't have them on if we didn't think they're worth your time and such. We'll be right back after this brief message. It's only a minute. Don't go away. Dr. Skousen's here, and you're going to learn a lot more. Be right back.
What if you could shop at your favorite local stores, swipe your current credit card, and get extra cashback rewards? And what if you could also have donations sent to your favorite cause at no extra cost to you? What if this amazing program was absolutely free and very simple to set up? Well, What If is here. Welcome to Einstein Cares, where your everyday shopping gives you and your favorite cause extra money. It's fast, it's easy, and effortless.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Dr. Mark Skousen. He is America's #1 economist, as says The Money Show. And you're already in the money, what you learned so far. This is so wonderful. I just want to, let's go back to this remarkably important understanding that we are in an era, and an era could last a quarter century, of permanent inflation. Now, that permanent inflation doesn't have to be 6, 7%. It can even be 3%. However, 3% still is a deterioration of the purchasing power of your money. So therefore, by definition, you must always be ahead of inflation. So let's even say 3%, you need to make 6%. You always have to have a doubling. I think, is that fair to say, Mark, that you want to be at least 3-4 points ahead of inflation?
Well, and a lot of people use the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, even the Federal Reserve uses that, and they have a goal. They actually have their target of at least 2% inflation a year, and they're getting a lot more of 2%. But let me mention something that's really important. I have a chart, and I'll be showing this chart at the Money Show, that indicates that prior to World War II, and some of your people may remember this if they're around still, they're the 80s or what have you.
Right.
Prior to World War II, inflation was not permanent. It would rise during wartime, but then come back down afterwards for 200 years of our history. But then after that, for a series of reasons, it's the Federal Reserve, the engine of inflation, it's Keynesian economics, which allows us to spend, and run deficits, and the national debt is going off the gold standard. It's a lot of things that have we've lost that discipline. So you must prepare yourself to fight inflation, to invest in inflation hedges. I'll show you another example. This right here is a great inflation hedge. You know what this is?
A gold coin. Oh, no,
silver. This is silver.
Silver,
this is
right.
American Eagle 1 ounce silver dollar. And let me tell you something. This coin was cost only, it was in your pocket in the 1960s for $1. You could exchange $1 bill for one of these coins. Today, this coin costs you $35, $36. So that's 36 times increasing. I would venture to guess that this has outperformed this has been a really good inflation hedge, even though it doesn't pay any interest. I recommend the silver dollar. I always carry one with me to remind me of this is what sound money is all about. It's a beautiful coin, American Eagle silver dollar, Lady Liberty, Rising Sun, In God We Trust, the eagle on the back. And this is a great long-term. This is another one of the lazy man's way of investing that I'm going to talk about at the Money Show. So these are the kind of things that are really powerful. And every year you become richer by owning silver coins.
So I want to piggyback on what you just said here, leverage what you just said, is that you become richer by, let's say, owning silver coins, as opposed to keeping a greenback, a paper dollar in your pocket, which by definition every year loses value, loses purchasing power. You don't become richer, you become poorer by keeping cash. Cash, money needs to be used. It's, as my uncle taught me when I was 9 years old, this is my rich uncle. Everybody should have one. I had one. He said, money is a god-awful master. It is an absolutely wonderful servant.
And I would also add that I'll give you a quote from Ben Franklin, because Ben Franklin in many ways is the symbol of American improvement, self-improvement, education. And he once said that learning pays the best interest, that knowledge pays the best interest, and you can move ahead. This is why I've published this book, The Maxims of Wall Street. This is why people go to the Money Show, because they want to become educated, and sometimes that is your best investment than simply investing in the latest hot stock that may not stay hot. You want something that is going to have lasting value. And Warren Buffett has preached that. All of the great investors. In fact, I'll give you a quote from the Maxims from Kevin O'Leary of Shark Tank. He said, becoming rich is easy if you follow three simple rules: save more, spend less, and invest the rest. Great. 35 of the Maxims of Wall Street.
Right. Save more, spend less, and invest the rest. And again, we have, thank God, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people listening from all over the world who love America because where they are, they don't have the same opportunities that we do here in this country. America is the land of opportunity. You can buy and sell and own and listen and learn, as you said. The greatest investment is learning about yourself and about the abilities to take advantage of the genius of Mark Skousen and other people at, say, like the Money Show and such, to be able to learn what to do. If you're not in the United States of America, or you're in a place where these are not so free to do these kind of things, at least you can potentially learn what you could do to acquire assets that will be beneficial to you. So we only have a few more minutes, Mark. I just wanted to ask you again, we talked about President Trump, talked about tariffs, permanent inflation. So let's all be clear. Inflation's with us. There's no question about it. Even if the Fed hit its target of 2%, it's still high, relatively speaking. Tariffs. Let's hope that President Trump is using them as a lever rather than a wall. Is that fair to say? We don't want a wall of tariffs, correct?
That's correct. And Ben Franklin also said, no country, no nation was ever ruined by trade. And because it's a win-win situation. Trade is simply, as buyer and seller, we're both gaining. You get my money, I get the good. And besides, even if there is a trade deficit, which Donald Trump constantly complains about, that means foreigners have a ton of dollars. And where are they going to spend it? They're going to spend it on the United States, either visiting here or investing in here and what have you. We need to be very careful. The protectionism that is being talked about so much, we are a dynamic economy, and people change jobs every 6 years on average. I mean, they move, and life is full of change. You have to expect it. Now, of course, the borders are being closed, so it's much more difficult to come to the United States. But you can create your own dream in your own country. I was reading about Paraguay, of all places, and it's a terrible place of corruption and inflation and all kinds of problems. And yet there are entrepreneurs there creating businesses and investment possibilities, and you can invest outside your own country. There's a lot of things that you can do to become wealthy. And it's just great that you have an international audience, because everybody knows that they can create their own dream and they don't have to depend solely on the United States.
And it's important, as you said, let's say about silver. One could start buying silver no matter where you are. Now,
it's very popular in Asia, especially all over the world. People buy, and many countries issue gold and silver coins. The U.S. isn't the only one. Mexico and Europe and Switzerland and the UK, the British sovereign, that we do all kinds of, there's places everywhere where you can protect your assets and beat inflation.
And let's be blunt, there are rising tides that are moving people forward. It's great to look at Argentina and see a country that 2 years ago was still mired in a terribly high inflationary cycle, and now for the first time in 27, 28 years has emerged and has almost a balanced budget. and
Well,
not a deficit. And again, it's because of using sound money principles, which you are the great expositor of, and a person who's at the helm who is just driving an engine called an economy that wants to involve all citizens. The United States is the beacon. We, as Ronald Reagan said, we're the great lighthouse into the world, that light on the top of the hill. So the ability for people to utilize money in a most productive way is really one of the greatest examples of what we call humanity. Because when you exchange goods and services with someone else, everybody wins. Is that right?
You're absolutely right. And of course, you need to understand that in my newsletter, I have 14 investments, and 13 out of the 14 are invested in the United States. But I do have one country fund that I'm investing in. It was the best performing stock market last year, and that's Argentina. So I'm on top of it. I'm in agreement with you on that. But I should also mention in my newsletter, it's called Forecasts and Strategies, and I'm sure you can provide information if people
want everything you want to know about Dr. Skousen is in the show notes, so it's there.
As we speak, I have 14 recommendations, and all 14 are up this year. So I think I'm doing something right.
Well, you're doing several things right. Number one, you have been deeply involved in the principles of growing portfolios for 5+ decades. In other words, you take to heart Ben Franklin's, in not just his recommendations, what he understood about the human condition. The more you learn about yourself and about other things, knowledge, the greatest investment is in knowledge, like you said. That's number one. Number two, you've been through so many cycles because, chronologically, you've been around for decades. So you have the ability to bring wisdom, as we call it. And number three, you are a lover of humanity in the sense that you want people to do well. You're not looking for crashes and talking about gloom and doom. You're talking about what can we do as a nation and as a world to bring about greater relationships, and that has to do with free trade, open markets, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just want to applaud you for what you do, and to thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure. I'm loath to use the words I'm going to say to you right now, Mark. You ready?
I'm ready.
We're coming to a close on our time together. However, I have 3 quick questions for you. Here we go. Number one, will you come back again?
Be glad to, and let's talk. We can broaden our topic and talk about philosophy, history, science and technology, healthy living, whatever, religion, whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, we'll call that sex, money, and whatever Dr. Skousen wants. Number two, Dr. Mark Skousen, America's #1 economist. What is your most fervent desire?
Well, I've always had a goal of reaching out and trying to improve in knowledge and understanding of how the economy works. What are the best policies to live by, both personally and as a nation, and to love life and be optimistic and love family and nation and God.
God, nation, God, family, nation, in that order, as Vince Lombardi would say. First is God, then family, then the country. Okay, Mark Skousen. Now number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 511,918 people around the world?
A virtual hug.
Virtual hug. Let me tell you what hug stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And again, you're listening to Eye on Las Vegas with your humble host, Barry Shore, and amazing America's #1 economist, Dr. Mark Skousen. And we have a blessing for you. Go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Mark, don't go away. Okay, let me do this.